You've been really good at understanding that one person needs a ton of context. Another person needs 2 sentences.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to making a mistake in the first place. It didn't work the first time. There's some reason for that. So let's figure out what that was.
If you under-communicate, you're never going to get over-delivery.
Micromanagement isn't necessarily just being super honed in. It's probably more that it's a way of condescension.
Generally, when people are micromanaging, it's because of a lack of ability.
I think the core difference here in Shockwave is that...
Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Special Ops. Things look different, don't they? I'm in London, and guess who I'm with? I'm with Richard and Saka. I talk about them all the time on the show, and we are here in the UK doing team building and just plotting and planning and getting ready to destroy shit. So super excited because we decided, hey, let's go to a podcast studio and rip some podcasts together. I'm talking about you guys all the time on the show. Saka basically runs the entire thing with Joshua. And so let's just let people get to know them. So we're going to film an episode together. This is episode 1. We're going to film another episode together. I'm going to film an episode with Richard so you can get to know him. And depending on the timeline, we might do a few more bullshit ass things. We'll see. But let's dive in. Today we're going to talk about international teams and how to make operations work. We've been doing this for 6 years at Shockwave. 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And we've managed to make magic together, though we're oceans apart. And so we wanted to dive in today and talk about many of us equate speed to being productive. But how often do we see teams that run fast constantly break things, causing massive time delays? This team we slowed down on purpose so that we can move fast. Today I'm sitting down with Richard and Saka to talk about one of the company's core values. Behind every funnel launch, internal policy, tool, and workflow is a decision that's been thought through, not rushed, not guessed. This conversation is about the mindset that we use to govern how our company Shockwave operates at scale. What does it mean to build on purpose? How to protect teams' bandwidth, and why being deliberate isn't about moving slower. It's about moving way smarter, so therefore way faster. At Shockwave, we don't do that's how it's always been done. Every tool, every SOP, every campaign, we question everything. Guys!
Yeah.
Did you ever think?
I did.
You did?
It was going to happen.
Once we heard about the London thing.
You've been with me almost 6 years. You've been with me almost 2 years. And we finally get to sit, and I think this is probably going to be a regular thing. We've changed a lot over the years at Shockwave. We've been able to mess up together, cry together, laugh together, kick things over together, reinvent things together, go back to the original way because we reinvented it wrong. And you walked in the door. We've been together a ton.
Sure.
You've come and stayed at my house for 30 days at a time, more times than you probably want to remember.
Technically legal.
Okay, sure. Anyway, so we spent a lot of time together. We've traveled all over the place together.
Yeah.
But you and I met in person for the very first time on Monday.
Yeah.
It didn't even feel like we didn't know each other. Yeah. It felt like we've always known each other. And everything was so comfortable. Other than the fact, like, Saka's huge. He makes himself look small. I don't know how he does it. We can't figure it out. Yeah. He's almost as big as Richard. Other than that one factor, like, I felt like I've known you for years because I have. And because we've been able to, even though we're working internationally and we're working online, we've been able to create real rapport with one another. Really quickly, and I'd like to hear both of your perspectives on why you think that is.
Yep, I'll go first. So, for me, I'll say, like, the amount of face-to-face. I know, like, when I joined Shockwave, I used to have meetings on the other companies I've been on, and there was never the need to put on our cameras. And so I've seen a profile picture, and that's about it. That's the only thing I've seen. It might be a picture from 7 years ago. I wouldn't know. And when I joined Shockwave, the first thing that I noticed was everyone had their cameras on. And you mentioned this a lot, like, you're unable to see people's reactions to or emotions behind every statement that they make. And at first, I never understood it. I always felt like I could tell how someone sounds by just how they speak. I can tell if you're pissed off. I can tell if you're happy. But now I see what you mean. Seeing someone's reaction, seeing if they're paying attention or if they're just being like, okay, I don't care what you're saying. It's played a very big part. I think that's the reason why we see each other every day. Literally
every day.
Except for
multiple times. Multiple times, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. We see each other every day. We're on calls every day. If you see me wearing the same shirt 3 days in a row, you're going to be like, you okay, Saka?
I think that happens the other way around, actually.
But this happens because we're getting on the calls every day and we're speaking to each other quick 30 minutes every day in the morning, having that conversation.
How many times have you shown up sick and tried to play it off and I knew immediately and sent you to bed?
So many times. And yeah.
Every time you've been sick in 2 years.
Exactly. So for me, that's the key reason why. That bond we've created over being able to get on a video call every day, it's been the major part for me. Yeah.
I love that. It feels really good. Thank you for sharing that. For you, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said from that. There's a lot of companies where we worked in person, but we don't have anywhere near the kind of rapport or understanding, really. I think the core difference here in Shockwave is that everyone knows, at very least, a lot about what everyone else is meant to be working on. Partially, this is why we structured the face-to-face meeting to talk about what we do in a day. It's a
That's
level,
what first things we did. For those of you that haven't heard me talk about that on the podcast, we do what's called a morning face-to-face. And I intentionally called it face-to-face instead of, a lot of people call it a stand-up meeting or coffee break or something like that. I intentionally called it a face-to-face because I wanted everybody to know that my face was going to see your face every single day. I'm going to get to see you. So it's scheduled for 30 minutes. It usually only takes 15. We have the 30 just in case someone is having an issue or they need help getting through something so we can keep things moving. But that's what Rich is talking about when he says the morning face-to-face.
Yeah. I think the fact that we always have that discussion, have that understanding of what people are working on, it builds a understanding of what everyone does, what everyone is responsible for, in a way that is not the case for a lot of in-person businesses and definitely not a lot of international businesses, because so many times there's going to be, in different companies, there's going to be, oh, what does that guy do? What's his responsibility? What does Andy do? What does person X do? What are they here for? What can I go to them for? What can I help them with? Whereas in Shockwave, I think it's so much more of a central part of that connection. As Saka said, we have that face-to-face, not physical, but virtual face-to-face connection, and we have a little bit of a connection to what we actually do. I think those two combine to be very unique, I think, in any kind of business, whether it's in-person, virtual, whatever the case may be.
For me, a little bit of all of that. Yeah. But one of the things, and as we were going through, and I was writing the book Scope, and Richard was a big contributor to that book, we were trying to figure out, there was a component during another weekly meeting that we have called a breaker, where we take a break from working on our business to in our business. And I was trying to add an element of us understanding what each other is going through. And so we changed the meeting to start off with this week, and weeks for us mean breaker to breaker. So Thursday to Thursday is a week for us. This week, what are you grateful for? What are you excited about? What's the other one?
Personal and
professional win. And at the beginning, when we first did it, everything surrounds the business and the company because I think that's where people get comfortable. And I very intentionally kept putting personal stuff in. I am grateful for my son Magi being home. I am excited about this weekend. Gabe and I are going to this thing. My personal or professional win is that, and I did this very intentfully, and I know you two don't know this, but a light bulb might go off. Everybody was working so hard all the time, and we were all doing so much overtime. I think all three of us were about 55, 60 hours. And so I started saying that my personal and professional win was that I took all weekend off and spent time with my family. Because I really wanted to instill in everybody that should be a win for us. My intent was to manipulate everyone and do what I wanted. But what ended up happening is I started learning about Tiago being excited about his daughter sitting up, or Saka being excited about going to see his girlfriend in London. I would have never known because we would have never discussed it. So there's just so much that I've learned about our different team members during that time on what motivates them, what drives them, what excites them, what gets them fueled. I love all of our answers. It's great. I want to switch gears a little bit to you, Saka. When you came into Shockwave, one of the beautiful gifts that you gave me was peace. I don't do stupid well. And if I have to tell somebody the same thing twice, I feel like it's stupid and I lose my mind. But when you're dealing with so many people and so many projects, you have to repeat yourself over and over and over again. And we're going to talk about that a little bit on my episode with you. But I just so appreciated the way you came in and took so much off of my plate that made me angry every day. And there's been a huge shift at Shockwave. We've eliminated the past about 8 months everything that pissed me off. And I hope you guys can see like the change that I feel that's in me, because I feel so calm. I feel so much at peace, and I feel like super happy to work with everybody because you've taken all the crap that you actually love to do.
Yeah.
And so I'd like you just to talk for a minute about how you came to the realization that you should take over some of those things, because you came to me, I didn't come to you.
Yeah.
And the trust that you have to say, hey, this is making everybody miserable, can I take it? So I want to walk through that with you.
Yeah, so again, it comes back to what we initially talked about and how we have these open calls where would you spend 30 minutes together in the morning. And just from seeing the kind of questions, because it's very hard for you to hide your emotions.
Hide my emotions at all. I don't even try to.
Yes. So that's what I mean.
No, I can't, by the way.
Yeah.
Even if I try and pretend like I'm not mad, my face is going to show it. So I just may as well go full on.
That was it. I mostly pay attention. Like I can tell we're all on the calls. And when someone asks a question, I can see your reaction. And in my own head, I'm like, okay, that's something. Because when I joined Shockwave, one of the first things that I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I would really like for this morning face-to-face to be a smooth call. And so I just took it out.
It never was.
It never was. We used to have a lot of issues back then when I first joined, a lot
Yeah.
of problems in the morning. I was like, it's never a great way to start the day.
Yeah.
So in my head, I just took it as I'll do whatever I can to help people. There's a lot of things that, and again, the system we had in place was people were going directly to you without having a bit of a stopgap
For everything.
we were not taking enough away from you. You had to look at things, but being able to put a break in between you and someone that is doing the actual, because people were doing the first draft and sending the first draft to you.
Thing that you say all the time is, why did you send that to her before you sent it to me?
So this is the first thing I noticed. And first drafts are never perfect. And then the second problem is when people were communicating to you, people were not communicating to you that this is not the finished product. They just send you a link and say, hey, have a look at this. Without saying, hey, have a look at the first draft. Please know that this is not the final product.
Saka definitely knows how to talk to me. I don't even think that I've ever one time raised my voice at you.
So that is the missing.
I don't think so. Have I?
In the past. So like,
Richard's made me get seething angry.
So it's the lack of just understanding how to communicate with you. This was the thing that I noticed early on, and I just took it on top of myself. If it becomes a thing where the morning face-to-face is very smooth sailing, we're just actually talking about what we're going to do for the day. So that's what I did when I joined Shockwave.
Because it's pretty smooth.
A lot smoother.
It's pretty smooth. I can't remember the last time we had like a big issue on the call that couldn't be resolved in 13 seconds.
So yeah, just taking you out of the equation, you're only seeing the final product. Again, of course, you give feedback, but still,
I think there's a lot of higher level stuff I'm seeing progressions on and giving feedback, but the lower level stuff that they were just drowning me in when I have to, it's like Gabe and I talk about this all the time. He'll say, what do you want for dinner? I made 2 to $10 million decisions today. I don't fucking care. And you want to show me different colors of carousels for social media posts. I want to slap my head up against the wall. And then you want to talk it out. I don't have 5 minutes to talk. Do you see my calendar? And that was, we'll talk about that in a minute. But there was another thing, like I'm getting on calls from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., all day, every day, nonstop with not even 15 minutes to use the bathroom or get something to eat. I'm eating on calls, like my whole life's surrounding this thing. And I really loved that you saw what was happening. And instead of just being like, ugh, her problem, you were like, oh no, she's miserable, so it's my problem. And that's there's been several things that have happened that make me super happy to come to work again. Because that's how it was when we started. I was super happy. It was just me, him, and Julie. And I was just super happy every day to get up and go to work. And I hated Fridays. and I loved Mondays. And then I got to a place where I hated every day because it was just so much and I felt so alone in it. So thank you for that. It's amazing that you had the ability and the foresight to see what was going wrong and then take it on you. Yo, we interrupt this pod to tell you to like and subscribe. What are you doing? Why haven't you liked? Why haven't you subscribed? Just subscribe. What's the problem? In all seriousness, subscribe so that you get notifications every time we drop new content. Additionally, if you have not signed up for our Visionary Vault, what the hell? www.specialopspodcast.com. Go sign up. It's free. We never try and sell you, and we're putting all kinds of stuff in there to help you with the operations of your business because we're passionate about it and we want to share operational excellence with our direct response e-commerce and online selling family. And so one of the things I'd love to chat with you about a little bit, you've been really amazing at taking huge amounts of workload, dealing with Saka manages more the people, you're more the projects. Tiago's the projects too. It's a little all over the place, but we understand our buckets. You've been able to take these international teams and the differences and nuances of how people talk to each other and communicate and silo it. So I need direct bullet points. I absolutely love Tiago. Sometimes when Tiago talks, I just shut off because I know that I don't even need to listen. I can wait till the end and be like, what's my action item? And I only needed to hear a sentence. You've been really good at understanding that one person needs a ton of context, another person needs 2 sentences, the next person needs a bullet point, this person needs it written, this person needs it verbal, and I'm not saying that you do, but you've been really good about that. Talk to me about how you have learned over the years to work with different personalities who learn differently, because you're a teacher amongst most of us. You're teaching us about marketing, about copywriting, about split testing. So how have you overcome that challenge of different people learning different ways?
Sure. I think it's very much an individual thing. I think ultimately it comes down to making a mistake in the first place. That's going to sound...
No, that's how I learned.
It's going to sound a little silly, businessy, but like when we bring on a new person, I communicate with them as I like to be communicated with.
And no one on our team likes to be communicated like you do.
No, absolutely not. And that's always going to be a mistake in that sense.
Yeah.
But generally that will give me some idea of, okay, where did this go wrong? And how do we take it from there? Why did it go wrong in this specific case? What do I need to adjust when I talk to them in the future when I'm telling them whatever the case may be? A lot of people need a lot more looms, for instance. A couple of people where it's more of a text-based thing. But generally, it's going to be a case of it didn't work the first time. There's some reason for that, and there's an individual reason for that. So let's figure out what that was. I don't want to say this is a me thing. Usually the way to figure out what mistake they made is that to the next time they'll ask you, hey, can you give me a loom? That's very nice to have that extra help on that side.
But you are a pattern person, right? So you definitely see patterns.
Oh, sure.
One of the things that I've noticed, I need to be communicated differently depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
If I'm at an event, running the event, it's different than when I'm attending an event.
Yeah.
It's different when I'm traveling for a client and I'm in a room with them all day, or I'm traveling with Gabe and we're just enjoying ourselves. There's just...
Yeah.
You're dealing with 8 different people sometimes when you're dealing with me. And you automatically have learned over... It's been 6 years almost, but you've learned how to just know that based upon what's going on in my schedule. Yes, it is a trial and error thing, but you'd be surprised how many people will just continue to do the same thing over and over again and won't see the pattern, right? Yeah. So I think there's something to be said about that. I want to move on because one of the things that happens, I think, with international teams very often that we see with our clients. So we work with a lot of different clients. We have worked with a lot of different clients over the years with a lot of different styles. And just about all of them had people internationally. Yep. I don't think there's been one client that didn't have at least a few international team members. Man, they micromanage. I hate micromanagement. I absolutely hate micromanagement. And generally when people are micromanaging, it's because of a lack of ability to lose control, an ability to lead or teach, or an ability to create SOPs. And SOPs, as we know, serve freedom. I'd like to start with you, Saka, and then move on to Richard. What are some of the things that you do to make sure that you're not micromanaging our international teams? Because we have people in the Philippines, Africa, UK, US,
Jamaica in the past.
Bahamas. Oh, Argentina. Oh, sorry, Tiago. We didn't mean it.
Let's do about every continent.
I know. Just about every.
Antarctica's the...
We're just going to have to plant someone out there. So how do you keep from the need to micromanage when you've got people all over the place? And ultimately, And if you haven't gotten the feel from Saka, like, I can be a battle axe to work with. I can be amazing to work with when things are going well and everybody's doing their job. But I can also be really difficult to work with when people aren't doing their jobs. And Saka came to me. I want everybody to just understand the massiveness of this, the ginormity of this. He came to me and said, let me be responsible for all the things that you're always mad about. And you can just get mad at me now. Literally what he did. And then they'll watch me go, Saka, why have I said 4 times that these photos cannot end up on social media? And Saka says, knowing that he didn't do it, sorry about that, Emma. I'm going to get that corrected. That, by the way, will always calm me down. Responsibility, and I'm going to fix it, will always calm me down immediately. Arguing with me that, oh, it was in a Slack thread with 500 people while you were away, so what's the problem, always makes me go absolutely ballistic. But that was a very long-winded, I just Perry Belchered the question, sorry. So talk to me about how you do that.
Yeah. So I think you've answered part of the question already. When we get on a team or we just join a company, and the first couple of tasks that we work on together, you have to pay attention to not just the actual work, but actually understand personality and how people do things. Like I said this and you did that. And compare the expectations and the results, or the brief and the results, and understand the pattern. You're never going to get it right in the first couple of conversations. It might take you a month, 2 months, depending on the size of the team or the amount, like where they are. But after a while, as someone that is leading a team, you need to pay close attention to people's personalities and how they process information. Because you can't know right away. What you can do on your own end to start with is go over the top in terms of brief. And I will give an example because we have Paulo from one of our clients, and he works on Philippine time, and so we only have a couple of hours a day where we cross over. And so when I'm sending him my briefs, I'm giving him as much information as possible, because when he's
he
online,
doesn't have the ability to ask you a question.
This is one of the biggest problems if you're working with an international team and you're not working on the same time zone. You need to, when you're sending out your brief, because you're not there to answer questions in real time. You're going to have to sit around and wait for your
You have to
day.
think about all the questions that they're going to have and eliminate those by over-communicating.
Yeah. Over-communication, whenever, especially when you're working in different time zones and they're not working on the American time zone or whatever time zone you're on, you need to over-communicate. And then look at the pattern, see if after a couple of projects you're able to understand the very basics. And even after understanding the basics, you still need to always communicate that. Not as in-depthly as you've done the first 2-3 times, but you like, hey, now those long conversations are now becoming bullet points. And then the more advanced things that you want them to improve on are now the ones you're starting to over-communicate. And I'm going to go back to Paulo as a very great example, because 6 months ago, he was unable to, for example, create mock-up for a whole website. He could create assets, but he couldn't piece it all together. And now he's doing some amazing work in terms of creating actual full-page mock-up. And that's because we went from working on, hey, okay, this is the reason why. And another thing is giving reasons behind why you're doing what you're doing, or reasons
so
behind,
that they can learn.
so they can learn. So one thing I always do is the reason why. I'm not going to say to you, hey, we need to put this video or we need to take this out without giving a reason. Giving people that context helps a lot. It also helps build them in their own career and their own journey, and also helps them see the whole picture. And I think that model works regardless of who you're working with. I think everyone at the very least would like to have information presented to them in that way. Doesn't matter if you're high level, low level. If you're doing that, you show that you care. And if you don't need that extra context, fine. It's still do whatever you want to do with it. But I've given that to you along with the final result. So if I give you the results that you want and I give you a whole bunch of context, and you're like, no, I don't need that, but I've satisfied what you wanted, and you've taken what you wanted out of what I've provided to you. So that's how I think of it, and that's how I do things with the team. Over-communicate, so that you're also giving them the opportunity to over-deliver. If you under-communicate, you're never going to get over-delivery. Like, it's just going to be just about right at the very best.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Richard, for you, we're very intentional about being proactive versus reactive and not micromanaging our people. So talk to me about how you And I think you and I probably struggle with the micromanaging part more than he does, because we want things to be right, because we have to face the clients when it's not.
Yeah.
It's us who have to do that. Talk to me about how you've progressed over your 6 years working with international teams and how you've managed without micromanaging.
I think it's really a question of understanding where the boundary for micromanagement is drawn for that individual person. It really is an individual thing. To me, micromanagement is going to be a lot more broader question than it might be for someone who's coming into their job for the first time, who doesn't have the background information to know this is what we want the thing to look like. So, for instance, earlier today I was adjusting a brief. When I'd originally sent this brief, we'd sent it to someone who has been with one of our clients for a very long time. So I gave them the basic outline, the basic details of what we would want, a couple of ideas for things to try. We needed to push this off to someone else, so it took a bit of time to give them that extra detail to get a little bit more in-depth about the assumptions, the understanding of how the flow should work. So I want to detail that out. I want to be explicit there, which to the first person would definitely have been a question of micromanagement, because it's, so you're telling me how to do the job that I have invented in this particular case. So really it's understanding where people are and what their specific takeaway is going to be from how something is presented to them, because the problem with micromanagement isn't necessarily just being super honed in. It's probably more that it's a way of condescension. It's a kind of, oh, you're not smart enough to think of the answer.
Or I don't trust you. Yeah. I don't trust you.
And so really it's a question of understanding where those boundaries are drawn, and those change over time, of course. Really, I think, as with a lot of management questions, it comes down to getting to know people as they are.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about this when I was working with Dr. Lori Emery, phenomenal human being, by the way, but when I was working with her, one of the things that she really taught me and I brought into our business was, you do not meet people in the middle, and you don't expect people to show up where you're at. You need to walk over to where they are, grab their hand, and if they're for you, slowly walk them over to where you are so that they can comfortably serve what needs you have, whether it be an employee or a spouse or a friend. Because when you're meeting people in the middle all the time, that compromise, how does that serve them and how does that serve you? So anyway, guys, this has been great. Oh my gosh. I still can't believe that we're here. I'm super excited. Special thank you to Vox Pod London. We are like super stoked to be here. We'll probably be doing this again. I don't know if they want to do this again, but I want to do this again. I want to come all the time and do this, because this has just been a phenomenal week, and we're only on day 3, and it's just been so phenomenal to be in the room together and to share time together, and then to have them on the podcast. I've been talking about them for so long, and now we finally get to have them on the podcast. So thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to create an SOP on how to create rapport with international staff for you. And that's going to go in our visionary vault. As always at Special Ops, we like to give something that helps you in your direct response e-commerce or online selling business move forward. And a lot of us are using international teams. So we're going to give you, I said SOP, but it's actually going to be like an article on some tips and tricks on what you need to do, very bulleted. www.specialopspodcast.com. Join our Visionary Vault. You'll find all kinds of courses and all kinds of stuff that the guys and myself and guests on the show have made for you to up-level your ops and create operational excellence within your business. Thank you so much. And until next time, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get notifications whenever we drop new content. Thank you so much, and see you next time.